what would you say? This is a question that we get into that helps students better reverse engineer what they're doing now versus what they want to do professionally in their adulthood. How would you say your childhood passions as a kid prepare you for your adult career choice?
Um, as a child, I was very solution orientated. If there was a problem, I think of some way to fix it. A lot like maybe that's a man thing. It was a me thing. But I know a lot of times when I was little, my sister calls me a bad brother now that we're all adults. Whenever they like broke something in the house, I would fix it before my parents got home so that they didn't get in trouble, or so that I didn't get in trouble. So I was always doing things like that. Like when I was little, I used to take things apart. My mom told me this. I don't really remember this, but she told me. She was like, I used to take things apart and then put them back together. Or like take shoestrings out of shoes and then put them back in in a completely different way. Or do something crazy that she did. She was like, why are you doing this? But now that I'm adult, it kind of makes sense because now I do all those things.
No, that's the reason why I asked that question, is because sometimes kids growing up, they just feel like they're different, they're outcasts, whatever. The reality is, like, those things that make you unique and make you different also make you great at your craft, because that's something you may love doing. Everybody else is like, fix something. Oh my goodness, like I'm not handy at all. Like I can't, you know what I mean, at all. And so somebody else who has that gift is like, okay, please, take that on. And so it can open up a career path for you, entrepreneurially. Welcome to another edition of the Imagine Exposure Vodcast. We have a very, very special guest. We don't always get into, I would say, what is a very needed blue collar work, but I think that it's important to have so many different dimensions. I think that it's important to look at the nuance that comes out of what this next guest has, because there's a white collar component to what he does too, but it's both and so I'll let him explain that better than anyone else. And so we're talking about the dynamic and unique Mr. Jamal Garnett. How you doing, Jamal?
Hey man, how you doing today?
Doing well. Today we are going to be going through your job, your occupation as a general contractor. But I want to ask you first out the gate, who are you and how would you define yourself?
I am Jamal Garnett. I'm a Black business owner. Trying to establish myself as one of the premier general contractors in the Columbia area. Of course, I have on my BC hat just to let you guys know. But above all else, I am just using the gift that God gave me to serve the city of Columbia.
Absolutely. And I'm also HBCU graduate, South Carolina State University, want to represent for the historically Black colleges and university, very important. Jamal, what would you say is your story as it pertains to work and vocation?
Working what?
Work and vocation, like what's your story?
I guess I just like to, basically, I just wanted to do something that I was good at. I know I spent a lot of times at different jobs where I was working for somebody, which isn't always bad because now that I'm a boss, I know that it's very difficult to have employees, but I just, I felt kind of stagnant in the whole, is this what I'm called to do? Is this what I want to do? I felt a lot of, I'm working for this employer because this employer is trying to make as much money as he can, which is always the goal. But there was never this aspect of, I care about you as an employee more than I care about, making money. And that always, I didn't know that meant a lot to me until I started like caring about it. Like when I do a job, I'm doing a job because, you know, I chose to do this job, so I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities. But when the person in charge, so to speak, cares about their bottom line and not about the person, because we're all humans. We all need like social interactions. We need people to be around us. We need, you know, breaks from work when needed. So I've always had this, like, I want to work for somebody who just, you know, has a passion for people. And if I'm going through something, they're not going to necessarily chastise me for being slack or falling off of that day or whatever. And, you know, come talk to me like, yo, Jamal, what's going on? I noticed that whatever whatever the job may be, you're kind of, you know, being stagnant. You're not at your peak for what's going on. Talk to me, blah, blah, blah. That's the kind of thing that I wanted. So when I got into like working for myself about 3 years ago, that's the kind of culture that I wanted to set a precedent in. Like, I'm doing this job for this client. And if I'm having a bad day, or if the client is having a bad day, then something is wrong. Something, you know, either she's gonna get on my nerves, so to speak, or I'm not in the headspace to do my best work. And because I have the control over, you know, the day, if it's like 1 o'clock and my headspace is just gone, then I'm not at peak performance to do my best work. And that's what I kind of just like, I want to cultivate. I work with the guy who also went to our church. And yes, I wanted to make money. Yes, I wanted to increase my bottom line, but him as a person, I cared about more than the job. Like, if he's having a bad day, I'm going to, and he can't concentrate, I'm well equipped to do the job on my own. Yes, it'll take longer, but I care about him more than I care about the job. You know, the job will always be there, but I care about that person better. So that's the whole reason I have like 1 Peter 4:10. We all have gifts, but at the end, like we're supposed to use those gifts to serve each other. But if we're not serving each other, then what are we really doing? We're just working. We're wasting the gifts that God gave us. I hope that answered your question, but that's my philosophy on what my business is centered around. It's, of course, it's work orientated, but it's people orientated first, if that makes sense.
Real, you know, people are more important than property is what I got from it. Also, I got, like, you want to be the boss that you wish you had. That, you know, it's one thing for a person to say, hey, I want to be a boss. They get into a position of power and leadership, and then they start treating the subordinates in a negative way. But you want to kind of invest in your the people who you're hiring and really speak about their holistic flourishing. And I think also with Grace to Cultivate, the whole concept, it is a business. This is the business I started, but it was a concept of what does it look like to do everything with a sense of gratitude, knowing that Triune God and many other people have invested deeply into my life, and how can I use that to help others? And so, very similar in terms of that structure, and I definitely can connect with what you're saying. The next question is, what would you say is the biggest misconception of your job as a general contractor? What would you say is the biggest misconception?
I think the biggest misconception is that it's easy. Like on a regular day, I might go to Lowe's or a hardware store. People see paint on my clothes and they ask me what I do, and they ask me, can you do X, Y, and Z? I'm like, yes, I can. But level of difficulty influence price. So if you ask me, can I do it? Yes, I can do it. But if your expectation is, oh yeah, he can do it, it'll be in this, like, you see it broken. I see it broken and how to fix it and how long it's going to take and how difficult it is. So that all factors into, can I do it? Yes. And do you want me to do it? That may, that may differ once you see like what I actually have to do to get what your eyes see, but what they don't see at the same time. So yes, it's easy because, God gave me this gift, so I can, it's easy and enjoyable. But if you're like the inside, like the guts of what's wrong, that's what I'm working on. That's the difficult part. Like the easy part is putting the window back in the square, but the hard part is fixing the wood rot that's around what you can't see, what's inside, and making it so that it won't happen again.
Who would you say are some people in your vocational story in which you're most grateful for?
I think I'm most grateful for this guy named, well, when I first started, this guy named TR, he taught me all the things that I know. He's a great guy. And I still call him today when I need help on something, or if I'm stumped. I'll give him a quick call. He'll be like, oh yeah, do this, this, and this. Oh yeah, why didn't I think of that? And yeah, so he's somebody I call on a regular. And another guy, he's an old guy. His name is Rudy Cunningham. I talked to him maybe on a daily basis. He was actually a client. But he's taught me, him and his wife, they've taught me, I guess, how to be a Black man entrepreneur, and how to, they show me their mistakes so I don't make my mistakes, and then I tell them my mistakes so they can kind of fix it. So I think them as a unit have really helped me see how to navigate through it, how to look at, money, how to charge, how to do stuff like that in a great way. And I'm working for them, so it's kind of like, as I'm going through these trials, they're like, okay, see, the next time when you go to another house after this, then you know that this could happen. So when you go there, then you could, I don't know, act accordingly, charge accordingly, speak to the people, and those things I didn't think about, because before all I did was, okay, that this is the problem, I'm going to do everything I can to make the client happy, which is very great, but it's a lot of times kind of detrimental to both me physically and mentally.
For sure, and it seems like they're giving some guidance on like the business side, or the what do you call it? This would be the financial / operations, if you will. I mean, you're executing, but that's interesting.
And they've also given me, they've taught me about, I need to treat my body well. Like when I said in the beginning that if I'm not feeling well in half a day, I'm less productive. I need to stop working. Those are the people that kind of taught me that. It's kind of like, if I'm like in the morning, I'm on it. Everything is in peak position, and then if at 2:30 I start burning out because I work too hard in the beginning, and at 2:30 I'm not seeing properly, then I'm not at my best, and I need to either take a break or just call it all together, so that I'm giving them my best. Like, I'm giving them my best, and not something that's, subpar to what I can do.
I can only imagine that. I mean, because I feel like I have a similar kind of bent as a writer, but for me, I don't necessarily have a client, but I definitely understand the importance of like, hey, I'm not feeling it. And I may do, like you said, something that may be detrimental because I'm not in the right mindset right now. So I totally can see the connection for sure. What would you say? This is a question that we get into that helps students better reverse engineer what they're doing now versus what they want to do professionally in their adulthood. How would you say your childhood passions as a kid prepare you for your adult career choice?
Um, as a child, I was very solution orientated. If there was a problem, I think of some way to fix it. A lot like maybe that's a man thing. It was a me thing. But I know a lot of times when I was little, my sister calls me a bad brother now that we're all adults. Whenever they like broke something in the house, I would fix it before my parents got home so that they didn't get in trouble or so that I didn't get in trouble. So I was always doing things like that. Like when I was little, I used to take things apart. My mom told me this. I don't really remember this, but she told me. She was like, I used to take things apart and then put them back together. Or like take shoestrings out of shoes and then put them back in in a completely different way. Or do something crazy that she did. She was like, why are you doing this? But now that I'm adult, it kind of makes sense because now I do all those things.
No, that's the reason why I asked that question is because sometimes kids growing up, they just feel like they're different, they're outcasts, whatever. The reality is like those things that make you unique and make you different also make you great at your craft because that's something you may love doing. Everybody else is like, fix something. Oh my goodness, like I'm not handy at all. Like I can't, you know what I mean, at all. And so somebody else who has that gift is like, okay, please, take that on. And so it can open up a career path for you, entrepreneurially. So that's really cool. So this next question is about the economy of words. Can you explain what you do as a professional in one sentence, and then explain what you do as a professional in one word?
Explain what I can do in one sentence. I fix broken things.
All right. Sentence.
And one word. Surgeon.
Okay, love it. Okay. All right. What would you say you love the most about your job?
What I love the most about my job is like seeing the people's face after the disaster that they had before me is now made into something that they love. Like they can't remember what it looked like before. I mean, after.
On the other end of the spectrum, what would you say is the biggest challenge to your work?
My biggest challenge is, I have a couple of them. One, I have a difficulty, I guess, valuing myself in a way that's monetary. I get this a lot, and I know it's true. I don't charge enough. And it's not because I don't know that I'm not charging, because I don't know that I'm not charging enough until I get into it, and then I realize, oh yeah, this is a lot more work than I anticipated, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning how to how to charge for things I don't see.
Yeah.
Like if something happens while I'm working and I didn't anticipate it happening, but it happened anyway. Yeah. In my head, I'm like, well, I'm just gonna have to take this on the chin, take some of my money, and just do it, and just make it happen, so to speak. And that's a challenge for me because I don't like going back to the clients and say, hey, I need more money. I mean, I'm learning that now. I'm learning to do that now with this, with that client who's teaching me things. There's nothing wrong with saying something unexpected happened. I need more funds to do this, and this.
Sure.
So that's the biggest challenge for me. And also I love the work. I would literally do the work for free, which
Mm.
also influences, like, when something happens, I don't think about charging like that. That is my biggest thing. I don't like taking money from people, but I'm an entrepreneur, so I need to take their money.
For sure.
And
Sure.
a lot of the times in my head, I'm thinking, I just keep taking money from these people. And then when I talk to them, they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. What do you need? And it's kind of like I've already, like, I'm telling myself one thing, and that's not the reality of the situation.
Sure. That's real. In order to be economically viable, we have to
Yeah.
charge for sure. So I'm right there with you. I get it. What steps must a person accomplish to either become certified or respected in your profession?
Well, first of all, before you become certified, I would make sure that you actually know what you're doing. Because anybody can go get a license. Like, all you have to do is go to the building, say, I want to apply for a license for X, Y, and Z. You pay them the money, they give you a license, and then you go out there and mess things up. But you have so you can know. But first, I would just make sure that what you want to do, you know how to do. And if you don't know how to do it, you learn how to do it. Because there are going to be things that even if you know how to do something, there are going to be things while you're working that come up that you don't know how to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's different than just going in and saying, I'm going to do this and learn by doing. There's a difference between learning by doing, and then there's a difference between just not knowing and just doing. Because there's instances where I was doing something that I knew how to do, but underneath whatever I did, I didn't know how something worked, but I still knew how to do the job that I was paid to do. So in the midst of that, I'm learning how to do something else. And then the next time I go do it, I know how to, like, I'm now I'm actively looking for what happened last time, and I know how to do it because I figured it out how to do it while doing what I said that I was going to do. That makes sense? Like, I know how to put in floors, but if I didn't know how to level out the floorboards, then the floor will be uneven. So now I have to learn how to learn how to even out the floorboards. I was paid to put in the floors. The floor had nothing to do with the job, but because they're not even, they'll make the floors look uneven. So while I'm doing the floors, I'm making sure the subfloor is level. If I don't know how to do that, I'll call up one of my friends, say, hey, what do I do about this situation? They tell me. Now I know how to do it. Now everything's good. So the next time I'm doing a floor, now I'm charging for the floor and the possibility that the subfloor is damaged or uneven or any of that. So it's easy to say I want to go do something, but that doesn't mean that you should. If you can't do it, learn how to do it before you go out and get credentials to do it. Maybe take a class, get certified before you get a license. Just because you're a licensed, whatever it may be, does not mean that you should be doing whatever you get your license to do.
Have to work on that competency piece and just kind of knowing what you're doing, for sure. And we kind of talked about this a little bit, but I know you're growing in this area, but I would love to get your experience and expertise in the sense of, how does a person in your shoes, how do you negotiate either salary or the value of your services in this career choice? What are some things that have been helpful now that you can kind of see as it pertains to the negotiation?
Okay, so in the beginning, like when I first started, I had no idea. I was just charging what I thought would be, like I was charging to pay the bills, so to speak. But it wasn't working because I still had expenses and gas and stuff like that. So I think year 2, I've talked to a financial advisor, and he was like, how much do you want to make a year? And then charge that an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured that out. I figured it out, but I didn't get it perfectly because a lot of times it fluctuates. Like November to February, things are they fluctuate a lot because holidays, people spend all their money, so they're trying to get it back up. And then when it gets hot, that's when business spikes. So what I've learned is, yes, charge what I want to make a year, but there's going to be so much other things that are unanticipated. So yes, along with charging what I charge an hour, I also charge for I guess things that may come up that I don't anticipate and the client did not know about. So I always give a what do you call it?
Estimate.
What did you say?
Estimate, like an estimate.
Yeah, I give an estimate, but in that estimate, I give room for there to be, okay, once I'm doing this, what I've learned is if I'm doing this could also happen. So I always leave room to tell the client that just in case, like I'm doing this is what I'm charging for. I'm also charging for gas, expenses, stuff like that may happen because I'm still driving there back and forth. I have to eat, stuff like that. And if I have a guy, I gotta pay him. But the things that may happen unexpectedly, like if I'm putting in a deck and you paid me to replace the floorboards, like the deck boards, but then when I take the old ones off, I see that one of the 4x4s is rotted in the middle, so I have to replace that. So I leave room for, okay, I'm gonna have to charge for this later, but I always leave room so so it's not unexpected. So they're always thinking about it, and I'm always thinking about it.
I think that's a good vision for what that looks like. All right, so this is a time machine question. Based on what you know now about your vocation, what advice would you give yourself if you went back on the first day of the job?
What advice would I give myself? I would say self. Do not go in this thinking that you are just going to, like, everything is going to be exactly the way you want it to be. Things are going to happen. Jobs are going to go longer than you anticipate. If you say a week, something happens, it may be 2 weeks. If you say, if you're ordering materials and you told the client that it may take 2 weeks and then the materials takes a month to get there, then you have to anticipate, you have to fill in those holes with something, or fill in those holes with something like another job while you're waiting on that, so you're not sitting on your hands and stuff like that, and just to anticipate the unexpected happening, because nothing ever goes as planned.
Yeah. Good advice. Good advice. How do you prepare to one day transition from this role? Think about in-game retirement, planning. How do you plan to one day transition?
One day, I haven't thought about this a lot, but I think about it every once in a while. I want to one day be able, like, I want to do this for as long as I possibly can, but I don't want to do everything that I'm doing now when I'm 40. So transitioning, I want to be able to train a crew because I don't want to get super big. I still want to stay local. Ideally, I want to have a group of 5 people. So if we have 2 jobs, we can work on 2 jobs. But I want to be doing like the bare minimum. If the guys need help, then I'll go in there and I'll tackle something super difficult.
Okay.
But when I'm 40, 45, 50, I want to have someone who I know and trust who can just do all the work that needs to be done. And I'm there as emotional backup, mental backup, and I can give you a hand if you need. Like, I can come in and help you do whatever you need, whatever needs to be done. I want to be that guy, but ultimately I want to be 80% hands off, 20% hands on.
I get it. Growing to scale, I feel like that's the challenge of any entrepreneur, right? Like, what does it look like? Have the business coming in, but you want to be able to transition in a way where you can work smarter, not just harder. That's kind of the whole just this podcast and brand, that sort of thing. What does that look like? So, our last 2 major questions, I put on the different memes and we put it on different things, social media. If you had to give me your principles of doing your job, we call it the Cultivate Compound. What would you say is your Cultivate Countdown for what you do as a contractor?
I would have to say that we are out here, like, I'm here to serve you. I get paid. That's an extra. Like, I'm ultimately here. God gave me the gift to do things with my hands, and I want to help you get what you need done. I enjoy it. I love it. And I just want to serve you the best way I can. And I get paid to do it, so it's great.
Absolutely. You had to say one motivational quote. Let's say one quote that is a Jamalism, if you will. What would you say is that one quote that defines you? That this is my quote.
I am worth the trouble I get into.
Okay.
I'm worth the trouble I get into. Yes.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that? What does that mean? I mean, I get the quote, but what is that? Are you talking about like?
It means that things like life is hard. It's going to be the hardest thing you ever do, and all the trouble and the all the stuff that happens in between, you know, birth and death. All that trouble is worthwhile. All that trouble you're going to get you where ultimately you want to be, all that stuff is cultivating you to be ultimately who you are supposed to be.
Okay, all right. Profound, deep, Jamalism, Garnettism. Are there any final thoughts, where that we can find you if somebody wants to look you up for your general contracting business? Where can people find you?
You can find me at JG's Contracting LLC on Instagram, Facebook. In my number, if you don't want to go there, is 803-220-5847. If I don't answer, you will hear my beautiful wife's message. Please send me a text message, and I will get to you faster in a text message than I will if you call.
Awesome. And I do want to notice that you guys are the first husband and wife team that have been on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And so hopefully we have others, but you guys are the first. And so, but I do appreciate your time, Jamal, your expert analysis and expertise. And man, you have a great day.
You too, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Have a good day.
All righty, man.